Yo, it's your boy DZ, man. You already know it's not about the setback, it's about the get back. Now, someone took it upon themselves to kill the CEO of healthcare. We all know that this had to be a paid hit. This hit was done in broad daylight, and there's too many cameras in America now to feel that this person won't get caught. But whoever did this strategically planned this, and they were able to carry out this hit in broad daylight. But I want y'all to check this out. We're going to start here talking about this. Check this news clip out.
Investigators in New York City are searching for clues after United Healthcare's CEO was shot and killed in what police are calling a targeted attack.
Surveillance cameras captured the attack on Brian Thompson as he was on his way to an investor meeting. There are reports the bullet casings left behind had writing on them, including the words deny, defend, and depose. Fox's Meredith Gorman has the latest on the search for the killer.
Fox have obtained this surveillance camera footage from the Hilton Hotel in Midtown showing the masked gunman following and then gunning down 50-year-old Brian Thompson as he is just steps away from the entrance to the hotel. Due to the graphic nature of the incident, we are freezing the video before Thompson falls to the ground. Now, law enforcement says a silencer appears to have been used on the gun as the gunman calmly shot the CEO.
It appears the suspect was lying in wait for several minutes. And as the victim was walking to the conference hotel, the suspect approached from behind and fired several rounds, striking the victim at least once in the back and at least once in the right calf. Many people passed the suspect, but he appeared to wait for his intended target.
New updated photos of the suspect in a Starbucks shortly before the shooting have been released by Crime Stoppers, as you can see here. He is masked and dressed in all black, wearing a tan or neutral colored backpack. The suspect fired his gun, then fled through the Ziegfeld alleyway across the street, where authorities are investigating a cell phone that they found on the ground before he hopped on an electric bike and headed down 6th Avenue into Central Park. Multiple witnesses say they saw the shooting unfold.
I hear the 3 shots. I was parking down there in the car. I hear 3 shots. Yeah, and then when I looked, there's a man down. Yeah. Yeah, and then the guy crossed and then he ran. He's a white male, all in black, with a backpack. He crossed this way. That ought to see.
The driver told me he was hanging around whole night waiting for the guy, the shooter. And he just inside the car waiting for him. Soon he see him, he just shot him.
Authorities now urging the public to come forward with any information that they may have, as they insist the victim appears to have been deliberately targeted. Meredith Gorman, Fox News.
Well, we all know that this was a target hit. This hit here was well planned. They still haven't found the suspect. They have images, videos of the crime happening, but they still haven't found the suspect. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about this. Do y'all think this was a well-calculated, strategically planned hit? For this to happen in the middle of New York City in broad daylight, it was a reason though. And they said that words were found on the bullets. Somebody had a problem with the healthcare system. Somebody was denied some health treatment. And it had to be some life-changing health treatment in order for them to want to kill the CEO of healthcare. And I see this, y'all see this. We all know this was a hit. There was a silencer on the weapon. Whoever it was laid outside and waited for this person to come outside. They waited now. And as the person walked down the street, they shot the person from behind. And they made sure that they killed the person. This was a targeted hit, man. And we all know this. And whoever did this planned it well, but I think they're going to find out who did it. This is my personal opinion. This is what I think, because there's too many cameras in America now. There's cameras on all the highways. There are cameras on the streets. They're going to follow the camera of where he went on that bike, and they're going to track it down by touching each camera that's connected, and they're going to track this person down. In today's world, you can't get away with things like this in broad daylight because there's too many cameras. And I'm going to let y'all check some of this out on the news clip, and we're going to talk about it.
Thompson was the head of United Healthcare for the past 3.5 years. Police say he was targeted in this morning's premeditated attack outside of the Hilton Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. That's a busy commercial area. Thompson went to a hospital where he died. Police are still searching for the shooter, who had on a mask and was last seen eastbound on 6th Avenue.
It appears the suspect was lying in wait for several minutes. And as the victim was walking to the Conference Hotel, the suspect approached from behind.
CBS News' Crime and Public Safety Unit Coordinating Producer Anna Schechter has been following all of this closely. So, Anna, what specifics do we have that indicate that this was a targeted attack?
Well, people were walking by the hotel while the suspect was waiting for those 5 minutes, waiting for the victim. He was hiding behind a vehicle so that he wouldn't cause suspicion. He was wearing a mask, and he clearly had experience using a weapon. So when the victim walked over from his hotel at the Marriott, just down the street, crossed the street over to the Hilton, just a few blocks from here, the suspect walked around the vehicle just as the victim walked past and shot him in the back several times. The first bullet we've seen in surveillance video hit the victim, and the shooter continued to shoot. We see now, we've just learned he used a silencer, so he was ready. He pushed the tab for the suppressor to quiet that shot just before pulling the trigger. And then he fled. He fled north on 6th Avenue, jumped on a city bike, and actually rode north into Central Park, and that's where we lost a trace of him. So security cameras picked him up on that bicycle going into Central Park, and he was very savvy because he knew to use that cover. There aren't as many cameras once you enter Central Park. And so he was able to, we believe, change his clothes and escape detection. And he is still on the run hours later. This shooting happened, remember, at 6:45 a.m. Eastern.
And Anna, as we understand it, Thompson wasn't even staying at this particular hotel. That's part of the level of detail that indicates that this was very well premeditated and planned out.
Exactly. And that he knew, the suspect knew the timing that Thompson would be coming over. It's actually pretty early, 6:45 in the morning, to head to a conference, maybe to have coffee. The shooter had that intelligence and was 5 minutes early, waited for him to walk by, and as soon as he passed him, that's when he took his shot, Lana.
Does that indicate something then to authorities about a motive?
Well, this is the big question.
I mean, you hear a CEO of a major health insurance company and your mind starts thinking about different...
Absolutely. They're certainly looking. This is a major corporation. The stock price is extremely high. There's a big pot of money in the healthcare industry, and United Healthcare has a huge chunk of that. So that is obviously, there are investigators looking at the white collar elements of this, but it also could be a personal dispute. All of these questions remain unanswered. There was a cell phone recovered at the scene. It is unclear if it was the suspect, but that forensic effort is now underway as well. Of course, investigators are interviewing the family that just learned of this shock today, and apparently he had been receiving threats, but he didn't deem it enough of a threat to hire security. So he traveled from Minnesota, his home in Minnesota, to New York City without security and clearly was staying in the hotel as well without security, despite those threats.
All right, Anna, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right now, the New York City Police Department is giving an update on the search for the gunman accused of killing the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in a targeted attack. CBS News New York is all over this story. Let's go to their coverage from just moments ago.
In New York City to speak at an investor conference. It appears the suspect was lying in wait for several minutes. And as the victim was walking to the conference hotel, the suspect approached from behind, striking the victim at least once in the back and at least once in the right calf. Many people passed the suspect, but he appeared to wait for his intended target. The suspect fled, first on foot, then on an e-bike, and was last seen in Central Park on Center Drive early this morning. The victim was removed to Roosevelt Hospital, where he was pronounced. We've been in touch with his family, his friends, and his colleagues, and they are very much in our thoughts and prayers. Investigative efforts of the New York City Police Department are well underway, and we will not rest until we identify and apprehend the shooter in this case. The women and men of the NYPD take enormous pride in to drive down crime and violence in our city. Right now, we are asking if you have any information about this case, call Crime Stoppers. In this case to $10,000. I want to be clear. At this time, every indication is that this was a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack. Millions of people will be enjoying the tree lighting tonight, among other holiday events, and the NYPD will be out there with them, keeping them safe. For some preliminary details about today's tragic incident, I pass it over to our Chief of Detectives, Chief Joe Kenny.
Thank you, Commissioner. The information I'm about to give you is preliminary as our investigation is continuing. This morning at 6:46 a.m., patrol officers from Midtown North Precinct responded to a 911 call of a person shot in front of the Hilton Hotel located at 1335 Avenue of the Americas. This is between West 53rd Street and West 54th Street. At 6:48 a.m., officers arrive and find the victim, Brian R. Thompson, a 50-year-old male, on the sidewalk in front of the Hilton with gunshot wounds to his back and leg. Mr. Thompson was removed by EMS to Roosevelt Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 7:12 a.m. Mr. Thompson is the CEO of United Healthcare and resides in Minnesota. Detectives from Night Watch, Midtown North Detective Squad, and Manhattan South Homicide responded to the scene and began their investigation. What we know is that the shooter arrived at the location on foot about 5 minutes prior to the victim's arrival. He stands alongside the building line as numerous other people and pedestrians pass him by. From video, we see at 6:44 a.m., the victim is walking alone towards the Hilton after exiting his hotel across the street. We believe the victim was headed to the Hilton Hotel to attend the United Health Group Investors Conference that was scheduled to start at 8 a.m. The shooter appears to be a light-skinned male. He's wearing a light brown or cream-colored jacket, a black face mask, black and white sneakers, and a very distinctive gray backpack. The shooter steps onto the sidewalk from behind the car. He ignores numerous other pedestrians, approaches the victim from behind, and shoots him in the back. The shooter then walks toward the victim and continues to shoot. It appears that the gun malfunctions as he clears the jam and begins to fire again. The shooter then flees on foot northbound into an alleyway between 54th Street and 55th Street. Once at West 55th Street, the shooter continues to walk westbound on Avenue of the Americas, where he gets onto an electric e-city bike and rides northbound on the Avenue of Americas towards Central Park, where at 6:48 a.m. we have the shooter riding this bike into Central Park at Center Drive. At the scene, we recover 3 live 9mm rounds and 3 discharged 9mm shell casings. The motive for this murder currently is unknown, but based on the evidence we have so far, it does appear that the victim was specifically targeted, but at this point we do not know why. This does not appear to be a random act of violence. We are seeking information from the public to help identify the shooter. As the commissioner said, we have upped the reward up to $10,000 for information. You're urged to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-577-TIPS. All information will be kept anonymous. Thank you very much.
All right, well, we're going to open up to a couple of questions. We're going to start off with Shimon, CNN.
So it's about an hour and 20 minutes before the start of the conference. Is there any indication that he was going to meet someone? Because it's pretty early. Is he on his way to meet someone there at the conference?
He leaves the hotel dressed like he's going to be attending the conference. We're working with his co-workers and other people that he planned on attending the conference with to get that information. But as of right now, he's in charge of the conference, so we believe he was getting there to help set up.
And then just the city bike, if I may. Do we know where that city bike is now? Does he dock it, or does he keep riding it?
We're still tracking video. The last we see with him on that bike is in Central Park.
Is there a way to track that bike?
There are GPSs on those bikes. We'll be working with the company.
All right, we're going to move over. We're going to go NJ Burkett.
Thank you. Chief, were any words exchanged? If so, what were the words? I'm told a cell phone was recovered in an alleyway on his escape route. Does that appear to be connected to the suspect?
We're working through that cell phone. Obviously, we'll be processing it forensically. And as far as words being exchanged, we do not have audio of the incident. We only have the regular video.
But nothing from witnesses?
Nothing. Well, there was one witness standing right next to the victim when he was shot. We're still trying to identify that victim. Excuse me, that witness.
We're going to go over to Aaron Katursky.
Thank you. Chief, was he checked into the hotel across the street alone? Was he in the city alone? Was he accompanied by anybody? Did he have any known enemies or anyone that you've been able to find so far?
Like I said, we're reaching out to law enforcement in Minnesota, and we're also interviewing his co-workers and family members to see if there have been any specific threats against him in the past. As far as who was he in the hotel with, we're doing a search warrant in his hotel room right now. That might lead us, give us some more information.
All right, we're going to go over to Dean Moses.
A couple of questions. One, based on the surveillance we've seen of this individual, do you feel like he's professional? You mentioned that he did the bullets fell. Do you feel like this was a professional individual who took his man's life? And also, will it affect in any way tree life tonight?
I'll answer the part about whether or not he's a professional. That we have no way of knowing that. From watching the video, it does seem that he's proficient in the use of firearms, as he was able to clear the malfunctions pretty quickly. But as far as the tree lighting, I'll leave that to Chief Madrick.
Yes. Good morning, Dean. Just really quick, this incident will not affect the tree lighting. The tree lighting is slated to start at 7 p.m. The show, the actual lighting of the tree will be close to 10 o'clock, actually 9:55 p.m. We will have a massive police presence out there around Rockefeller Center from 52nd Street all the way down to 47th Street. We will have plainclothes out there, a plainclothes detail out there. We will have our CRC assets, our strategic response group assets. We will have our intel division out there, a lot of assets out there to make sure people can come out and have a good time. And we're going to have additional police officers in the subways as well, so people can take mass transit.
Yeah. Now, they have revealed a picture of the suspect with his mask down. And, let me see if I can get that. Yeah. Because they have revealed. Let me see a picture. Let me see. Let me see if I can. I'm going to see if I can get this picture of the suspect. They have revealed. Let me see. Because they have, let me see here. Hold up. Yeah, they let me see. Hold up.
Detectives, you've led investigations like this. How do you go about piecing this together with such a vague description of the suspect? Someone dressed all in black, wearing a mask, can't see his face. So now what?
So now you look at things, you got to do a video canvas. But first you have to lock down that crime scene because you have eyewitnesses who've already testified they saw it. So you go with that video, what that description they have, and you start doing almost like a leapfrog, a bit like a scent, with only a video one of where he runs off to. It's also important this man was there. So this was a target. They knew he was coming, and it was a setup. Right now, we'll talk about motive later, but right now you have to lock down what you have. Those projectiles in the street, those shell casings, and that video, which is always important. I was chief of Manhattan Detectives before I was chief of detectives, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of video out there that's going to aid in this investigation. So I think it's going to go very quickly.
And you're talking about video, Phil. It sounds like we're getting photos in now too.
Yeah, he's right. Robert knows exactly what's going on, and these are the pictures. Take a look. That is a picture, police tell us, of the suspect as he grabbed a bike and took off. This is the suspect out in front of the hotel. So you can see he's wearing dark clothes, just like witnesses said, hood over his head, that backpack on, grabbed a bicycle after he ran down an alley and took off. So Bob's right. He could be anywhere in Manhattan, and they have to lock that down. We do have a couple of interviews WABC, our local affiliate here, did with a few folks who witnessed the shooting, and saw the shooter before. So let's take a listen to them.
Was holding my phone, then I hear the shot, and when I look at the guy was with a gun, like the silent gun, got like a black gun, and I saw him after he shot him. He ran across the street this way. At this time, he stepped out of the car to smoke, and he see the killer 2 times or 3 times he's passing by,
Yeah.
At the crime scene with the words deny, defend, and depose written on them. Now, surveillance video outside New York City's Midtown Hilton caught the moment early Tuesday. The shooter got out from behind a parked car, pointed a gun at Thompson's back, and then shot twice. Now, Thompson was set to speak at an investor meeting at the Hilton and was about to enter the building when the gunman shot him. The 50-year-old took the lead of a health insurance company back in 2021 after running its Medicare and retirement business. Now, a law enforcement source tells us the suspect used cash to buy Starbucks before then waiting outside of the Hilton Hotel. We also have new video of the suspect moments after the shooting. NYPD said he eventually ran off on foot down an alleyway and then rode an e-bike into Central Park where he was last seen. Now, police say the gunman waited for Thompson starting at about 6:39 a.m. Thompson then walks to the Hilton 5 minutes later, and then the shooting happens. And at 6:48, the gunman is seen there riding his bike on Center Drive in Central Park. Thompson is taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead just after 7:10 in the morning. Now, authorities believe this is a targeted attack. They also believe the suspect's proficiency with unjamming the weapon during the incident suggests that he has experience with guns. CBS News senior coordinating producer on crime and public safety unit, Anna Schechter, joins us now to go over all of this, and there's a lot. Welcome, Anna. Good morning to you. Let's start with the search warrant. What can you tell us about that?
Well, police last night executed a search warrant on a building on the Upper West Side in the high 90s on Columbus Avenue near the Frederick Douglass housing complex. Why there? Well, surveillance footage that they screened yesterday showed the suspect entering a building in that vicinity. We don't have the exact address. We are drilling down on that, but it was near that housing project in or around there. And so that search happened last night. We can report this now on CBS News. So we will see if that helped police close in on the identity of the suspect. And I just heard that we expect before noon to see more photos of the suspect that show a little bit more of his face. That indicates to me that they're still wanting the public to give in tips about his whereabouts, that he still is at large. Liz?
And Anna, one of the more cryptic pieces of evidence was the words deny, defend, and depose written on the bullet shells found at the crime scene. Any meaning behind those words that investigators are finding?
Well, sources tell CBS News, tell my colleague Pat Milton, they were meticulously written in a Sharpie pen, and law enforcement are looking at whether those words pertain to how the insurance company might have responded to claims requests. There's a book out there examining the insurance and critical of the insurance company industry and how they make it difficult for patients to get coverage or to get reimbursed for high medical costs. And so it's not definitive, but investigators are certainly looking at this as potentially pointing to a motive, Liz.
And Anna, we mentioned that the suspect visited a Starbucks before the shooting and he paid cash at that Starbucks. What else are police going to be looking for in terms of that visit to the Starbucks coffee chain?
Well, they're looking for DNA evidence. So they certainly did a forensic sweep of the Starbucks. Also they did a forensic analysis of a water bottle and a candy bar wrapper that he might have purchased at the Starbucks that were dropped at the scene, as well as a cell phone. It's still unclear. We can't yet report that that cell phone belonged to the shooter, but police are certainly investigating and if it in fact was, and if there were any fingerprints on that. At this time, we can't report. We don't know if DNA or fingerprint data has pointed to any specific individual. And that can be tricky. Sometimes there's partial DNA or a partial fingerprint, and they just need more evidence. So right now it appears that we're still in that phase of the investigation where a lot of questions are unanswered.
Sure. All right. CBS News senior coordinating producer on crime and public safety.
They're going to get him. And I want to tell you that. They're hot on his trail. They have the video surveillance of him leaving the crime, going into the alley, getting on the bike, but they said they lose him as he goes into Central Park. I guess the cameras in Central Park are not everywhere. They have cameras in Central Park, but they're not everywhere, and you're able to go in certain parts of Central Park and not be detected. But they have a picture of him going into Starbucks with his mask down, touching the money. They have a water bottle that they suspect might be linked to him, and they're going to do all kinds of forensic tests to see what connects to who. And, you know, in today's time, they have so much technology. Things like this, when they're in the open and everybody's attention is on it, most of the time they're going to find out who did it. It's a possibility that this person doesn't get found, but being as though they have his picture, and this is a worldwide thing now, this is going to be going everywhere. Somebody is going to call in and say they know this person. And when people commit crimes, they don't think about these things coming back to haunt them. The detail of him going to a Starbucks at that time in the morning to get coffee and pull his mask down was something that the person wasn't thinking about. They weren't thinking that they were going to be detected and that the cops were going to go look and see what happened before. They might have thought the cops were going to think and what they did after, but they wasn't thinking about the cops thinking about what they did before. And these are the things that when people are doing things like this, they don't think of. They don't calculate this. And what I can say, this was a well-calculated situation. For this to happen at 6 something in the morning and this person still hasn't been found, we already know that this was a paid hit. Somebody wanted this person dead. He was from Minnesota. He came to New York for a business meeting. So people knew he was coming for this business meeting and he was going to meet investors. So this was somebody planning to take him out. For what reason? We don't know. It could be because somebody was denied health care for a life-changing situation. They could be upset about that because each bullet had a saying on it. This was a targeted hit. And he carried out the mission, but we already know that they're going to track him down by all of the cameras. There's too many cameras in New York City, too much action going on for them not to find out who it was. And we already see they've already got a picture of his face. The picture of his face is out there. They are on his trail. And trust me, somebody's going to call and drop a dime. If the hit was really, really calculated, whoever did this already had a flight going somewhere, already ready to fly out the country. Because if they didn't, if they're trying to hide in the United States, they're going to get caught. Whoever it was, they said they might have went into an alley somewhere, changed their clothes, and then went through Central Park, and you can't find them. It's very, very cold outside, and, you know, they might be in the woods, but it's very, very cold outside. So whoever did this was on a mission. They waited, they plotted, they sat outside the hotel waiting for him to come out. And they had a silencer on the weapon. It was planned. With all those witnesses out there, that's how you know somebody was paid. To go out in broad daylight, early, and to complete a mission like that, you were paid. Somebody wanted this person dead for some reason. And all we can really speculate with this situation is that it was somebody that got denied a health proceeding. Somebody got denied something that was going to save somebody's life. So they felt that I'm going to take his life to make an example. My man's in Dubai with his feet up as we speak. And that's a possibility. It's very much a possibility that he done jumped on the first thing smoking and left. Now, what I would say to that, right? He would have had to have that already booked, because I'm sure once this happened, they were looking at all flight information. He said there's no way he grabbed a city bike and a silencer and he's still in the States. And I would agree to that. For him to well plan to get on a city bike and the silencer, and you know they said the city bikes have GPS on them. So, and what I say to that is he was probably planning to get to a certain point and drop the bike. In this situation, it's definitely calculated and planned, because they still looking for him. They're still trying to go back to the cameras and track this situation all the way down to narrow it down to who it was. But they have his face out there. Somebody is going to recognize who he is. Somebody's going to say that they know him because his face is out there. He's been way too calculated to drop the ball at this point. And I would agree with you saying that. He has been very, very well calculated to this point, because we all know New York City has the biggest police department in the United States. And they still haven't found out who he was. But I think by the end of the day, they're going to know who he is. By the end of the day, because they said that this CEO was receiving all type of threats leading up to this moment. But I guess he didn't take any too serious because he didn't have any security. And yes, whoever it was, when he got to Starbucks at 6 a.m, he was smiling getting that coffee. He already knew he was going to do a hit, and he didn't care. He had a smile on his face, ready to complete that mission. And we're going to find out by the end of the day who it was. I can guarantee that. They said the manhunt is on. Let's see what they got here. They got a picture of the man's face. Hold up. Hold up.
Channel 7 Eyewitness.
Closing in on the shooter's identity.
Just minutes ago, the NYPD releasing photos, new photos of the suspect, the clearest photos yet of his face.
And y'all see that, right? The photos are extra clear. Somebody's going to recognize who this is. This photo is going to go across the entire country. And I'm sure it's going to go out the country too. But this photo is going to be everywhere. And somebody is going to be able to identify who he is. And these are the things that people don't think about when they put these hits in their mind. I'm going to go do a hit, but they're not thinking that my face is going to be out there because something that I do before the hit.
Police hoping that someone will recognize him.
A search warrant.
Just over.
Bring into the police investigation.
With a madman. A possible base of operation. Authorities believe this youth hostel on the Upper West Side may have been where the alleged gunman was staying. A wanted posters right outside the building on Amsterdam Avenue featuring the suspect now at the center of a manhunt. Wednesday morning, the gunman ambushed United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. Video shows the suspect calmly walking up to the 50-year-old outside of the Hilton in Midtown and opening fire. Mayor Eric Adams today saying pieces of this puzzle are coming together.
We are on the right pathway, and we don't want to do anything that's going to not only impede the investigation, but hurt the prosecution of the person involved. But we feel that we're moving at a steady pace, and we're going to have someone apprehended.
Seen here in this new video, the suspect riding an e-bike on West 85th Street, not far from that hostel at the corner of 104th Street. It sits right next to a NYCHA complex where police say the suspect was spotted before the murder heading into Central Park. He is then seen inside a Starbucks at 56th and 6th. In a trash outside, detectives found a water bottle and 2 Power Bar wrappers, which are being analyzed to see if there is any of the suspect's trace DNA. Investigators are confident the hit was targeted. Thompson was shot twice in his back and leg. What was left behind may prove to be key pieces of evidence: 3 live rounds from a 9mm gun. On the shell casings, 3 ominous words: deny, defend, and depose, a possible message to his target. Several people witnessed the violence unfold at about 6:45 Wednesday morning. Livery drivers. This man didn't want to show his face, calling the shooting cold-blooded.
I hear like pop, pop, pop. You know, just like it's actually not loud.
As Thompson was dying on the sidewalk, the suspect walked away, hopped on that e-bike, and headed into Central Park. At this point, getting away with murder.
The image of the guy is still, I mean, like, of course, the victim, I mean, is still, you know, I can see the whole thing. So, like, it is so sad. It's so sad to see such things.
And that picture in the story you just saw is the first time that we are seeing this suspect with his face uncovered. Detectives are taking that photo and they're walking it, showing it to other hostels here in the area to see if anybody recognizes him. We will bring you any and all developments here and, of course, on ABC 7 NY. For now, we're live on the Upper West Side. Kimberly Richardson, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Kimberly, thank you. And this investigation is now a little more than 24 hours in. And to shed some light on how the NYPD and other law enforcement may be proceeding, we want to bring in retired FBI agent and ABC News contributor Richard Frankel. Richard, thanks so much for joining us. I'd imagine that these new photos where you can see the suspect's face will really give a big boost to the investigators.
Oh, yes. I mean, they've already put it out, you know, through all the news. Listen, they're probably using AI to try to help track that down. I'm sure they've sent that picture to Minnesota to see if there's any connection back there, you know, through their DMV or through other mechanisms. So that picture alone should start really bringing in some new leads for this case.
Rich, I want to get your thoughts on the fact that they found on those shell casings written words on, somebody took that effort to engrave the words delay, deny, defend, and of course, this is a throwback to a book that came out about how some of the healthcare companies don't pay claims. What do you make of when you see something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that goes directly to what we believe now could be the motive. You're still going to follow all the leads and make sure that there are no other reasons that this could have happened. But really, that's going to be the directive, the direction of the leads and the motive going forward. Who was denied coverage? Was it the shooter himself? Was it a family member? Is it just a belief pattern that he has? Are we going to find online or somewhere, his treatise on what this book talks about and his belief patterns?
Yeah. Whoever wanted this person dead was denied some type of health services. And they wanted to make a statement, because for somebody to write with a Sharpie on each bullet, that was the message. And they knew the shell casings were going to be at the scene. They wanted to make sure that it was seen. And of course, yes, NYPD is 5 steps behind him, because it's been a whole day and they still haven't found him. But they are unveiling information. And for them to be able to get his picture out like that, I'm sure they're using the AI, trying to connect. And we all know that they have a lot of facial recognition now. These cameras have facial recognition on a lot of them, especially when you got these big businesses. So those big businesses that are in that area, those cameras got facial recognition. That's how they know when you go into certain places that you've been banned from them, your face gets picked up with the facial recognition. So they're going to use his picture and run it through their systems to try to link his picture with the facial recognition, with the DMV. You better know DMV taking your picture is a place where they go to match your picture for facial recognition. So I hope if he wanted to get away, he was smart enough, but I think they're going to catch him. And that's just, in my eyes, because it's too much technology now for you to do something like this and it be so big and they don't catch you. They know how to track these situations down. The NYPD is the biggest police force in the U.S. And for somebody to just do this in broad daylight, they had to get a check for this. This was a well-calculated hit. And after the person did it, they just walked away, got on one of those e-bikes, and rode off. This was planned without any regards. Because whoever did this hit, somebody's people was denied a procedure, a healthcare procedure. And they were probably on the verge of death. And they're looking at it like, we're going to get the people that are responsible for the healthcare system. Somebody has to feel our pain. It's not right. But people think like this. For somebody to wait on this man, and they even have an idea where the shooter was staying at. They got an idea, they have a location, and I'm sure the stuff that they're revealing to us is a little behind of what they already know. Because we see they keep coming out with more stuff every couple hours. For the picture of his face to come out, and now they have an idea where he was staying at before the shooting. And they're getting search warrants together, going in there to see what they can come up with. And they're getting search warrants for the hotel to see what they can come up with. And sometimes people that be upset with these kind of people, they get to emailing the people that they're upset with to vent, to get their point out there. So I'm sure they're going to be checking all of his emails, anything that might be linked where somebody can message him. So it's going to be a lot of searching going on to find out who this person is. And he might have left the country already. I'm not going to lie. He might have left the country already, but they're going to find out and reveal his identity, I think, by the end of the day. What y'all think? Y'all think that he's going to reveal the identity by the end of the day or not? Because I think by the end of the day, they're going to know who this person is. Especially when they pulled that mask down. They got the whole force, FBI, police force, everybody on his tail. But they don't got no information on who he is yet. They just got the picture with the mask pulled down, the Starbucks, and the investigation is going to go way, way deep. Yeah. It's a deep situation, though. And for them to release the images, you know they working. This goes to show, right? When somebody really don't care and going through something, you don't know how they're going to react. Because whoever was going through something with his healthcare system really felt like it was no turning back. To go to this point, they felt like I had to make a statement with this to kill this man. It's deep.
Brian Thompson,
deep.
Outside.
And he was the CEO. They got the manhunt, no cap. Let's see here.
Have released this. Look at this. This new photos coming in showing the suspected gunman unmasked inside a hostel. Looks like he's smiling right there. This in the Upper West Side in New York City. CNN Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst John Miller joins us now. This is a big piece of evidence in this investigation, John.
Well, it's a turning point. You know, we have been asking the metaphoric question, who is the man behind the mask? At least we don't know who is the man behind the mask, but we see the face behind the mask now. And, police worked with these images. This is at a youth hostel, which is on the Upper West Side. They were there yesterday, last night, actually searching a room that they believe the gunman stayed in. They believe this is a picture of him. He kept the jacket on and the hood up and the mask up almost at all times, according to people in that hostel. But there was this moment at the front desk in the lobby where the mask came down, and you see that smile. And this is so far the only image of his face without a mask, the best image police have. And what they said is, even though it's not quality where you would generate a facial recognition image or something that would bring you to a mugshot if he had a record, what it is it's an image that if you knew him, a coworker, a friend, a family member, you would say, that's so-and-so. And that's why they're releasing it right now. They're trying to speed this up by literally crowdsourcing this clue to the general population.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly need the public's help, as it's now been more than 24 hours with this person, the suspect, on the loose. I mean, where do investigators think he is at this point?
Well, so this is a turn in the investigation. The idea that there was some thinking earlier on that he was a New Yorker because of the savvy way he moved through Midtown, stashed an e-bike, navigated through Central Park up to the Upper West Side, was seen on the Upper West Side earlier in the morning before the shooting, carrying a battery for that bike. It suggested a familiarity that suggested maybe he was a New Yorker, but the idea that he stayed in a hostel up there for 2 days in a room for 4, but there were 2 other men sleeping in there, so he stayed with 2 strangers. That may change the leaning towards someone who came from out of town and tried to stay in a place that would have a minimum number of cameras and not cost very much, and the kind of place where people don't notice people because it's very transient.
Do you know more about the timeline in terms of when these pictures were taken and this rare moment, as you said, where he put his mask down at the front desk at this hostel before the shooting? It just strikes me that he's in this picture smiling.
You know, I don't have the precise timeline, but in that police were up there yesterday and last night. They did a search of the room. The hotel, of course, cooperated with them and got these, the hostel rather, got these images. It suggests he was probably there Tuesday and Wednesday, but give or take a day. That's something investigators know. We have people up there now talking to them, and something we'll know soon, but it appears to be very recent.
What do police do in this situation, John, when, you know, it's been more than 24 hours, he's still on the loose, he could very well be outside of New York City and beyond? I mean, how far do they cast the net at this point looking for him?
Well, I mean, the real net is global, which is he could have gone to Kennedy Airport, got on a flight, and be anywhere in the world right now, which is another reason to release these photos, which show the face. But I think the current thinking is he came in from outside New York, stayed at this transient location, did the job he came for, and is probably back where he came from, which is yet another reason to put these photos out, because is he from Minnesota, where United Health is headquartered? Is he from Montana or Nebraska or somewhere that has nothing to do with this? Or is he from, you know, Pennsylvania? That's the wild card, and this may help spur that in terms of the crowdsourcing from the public.
Quickly, John, given all of your experience in law enforcement, how quickly, typically, after pictures like this that are pretty clear of his face come out, do you hear from someone who knows the person?
Usually very quickly. You know, I think of the last couple of serial killer cases that I was involved in the NYPD, where we finally got a full face shot with good lighting, and within hours of putting that out, we had people calling in saying, I know who that is. I'm pretty confident that this will work. When you look at that image, if you know him, you'll know him.
Yeah, it's true. Well, certainly we hope so. And it's so important for the public to help and to reach out to authorities as he is still on the loose after killing this United Healthcare CEO on the streets of Manhattan. John Miller, thank you so much.
I want to continue the conversation and welcome in now Bobby Chacon. He is a retired FBI special agent and former leader of the FBI dive team. Bobby, great to have you. Just first, your reaction. I'm not sure if you can see the monitor, but this clear, pretty full-face photo now of the suspect.
Yeah, Rahel, I think this is the biggest development in the case so far. I think that there's somebody, a family, a relative, a friend, a coworker of this guy is going to recognize this. Now, you may have lookalikes, they may have to sift through some of those, but you know, you're showing this image globally, and certainly within the United States and internationally, this is going to be all over, and someone is bound to recognize this guy as a neighbor, as a coworker, you know, as a family member possibly. So yeah, I think that they are hours away possibly from actually having this guy identified if they don't have him identified already.
And Bobby, when you look at this photo, I mean, to me, a layperson not in law enforcement, this feels pretty significant. I mean, if you know who this person is, you can see the person's smile, you can see pretty good facial features. How would you rate this photo in terms of it being able to potentially identify who this is?
Well, I would say it's not perfect, but it's very good. I mean, it's very good. You can see the shape of his face. He has kind of a unique smile or a grin. He seems very relaxed. I mean, I think with the nose and the chin and the smile, I certainly think people that know this guy, if they see this image, they'll be like, "Oh, that's so and so." So I think this is a great image to put out there, and I think someone's going to recognize this.
And then, Bobby, if we can just sort of reverse track what we now know. So we now have this photo. Police apparently understand what hostel this person may have been staying at. They have these shell casings with these words on it, delay and depose. I mean, from your vantage point, does it sound like they're closing in here?
Absolutely. They're closing in from several different aspects, right? So we already have the forensic evidence. Now we have possible motive, which is, denied coverage. And now you have this physical image. So they're coming at this from many different angles, and each of those angles is progressively getting to the person. I mean, I think it's very much closing in on him, on actually identifying him. Now it's a question of finding out where he is once you identify him. But yes, I think that the motive from those etchings and those rounds to me is clear, that this was a denied coverage type of event. In that situation, you usually have communications with the person who's been denied coverage, and those communications there's a series of them, and they grow in frustration. The person keeps getting frustrated at each turn that it's denied and appealed and denied. And so you might have a series of communications, however that is, probably emails or possibly the website forms on the company's websites, or written letters even, that show a increasing frustration on the part of the person or their family member in this denied coverage. And each letter gets more, probably threats of violence eventually seep into those letters. You'll have somebody, forensic linguistics, go over this and look at those, but there's probably a series of communications that get more and more frustrating from the person ending it, because nobody goes from zero to shooting someone in the chest. There's probably been communications that show a increasing frustration on the part of the claimant.
And just for our viewers, you are looking at another angle at the very least, or a completely separate photo of the suspect, again, without the mask. Bobby, what do you imagine is happening right now within the police force? Is this a sort of all hands on deck? Now they have these photos, they flood the streets. I mean, what's happening now as they try to bring this person into custody?
They're combing Central Park looking for his clothes. He probably changed clothes in Central Park. They'll probably find the e-bike there, maybe his set of clothes that he changed out of. They're working the phones on international media like yourself to put this out to as many outlets as they can, to get as many eyeballs on these two photos that you're showing now on the screen. I mean, these are great photos. Somebody's going to recognize this guy. So they're probably working the phones on every both national and international news outlet to get this worldwide image, because someone's going to recognize this guy. The forensic people are doing their job. The Canvas people are out in the street still interviewing people both in New York and in Minnesota. And then the media people are really pressing the phones and trying to get this image as widely distributed as possible.
Welcome back into Live Now from Fox.
We start right now with those new developments in the manhunt happening right now for the suspect behind the killing of United Healthcare's CEO. Police just released new photos, and they're asking for the public's help in identifying the person seen in these photos. A senior law enforcement official says they found words written on shell casings at the scene that could be a possible message from the shooter. The killing was captured in this chilling surveillance footage Wednesday morning. Thompson was on his way to speak at an investor meeting when a man wearing a black hoodie and a ski mask fired multiple rounds from behind. Investigators say Thompson was shot at least twice in his back and in his calf. Officials also revealed the alleged shooter fled on an e-bike and rode towards Central Park. NBC News correspondent Stephen Romo joins us now with the latest. Stephen, you've been following this case since it started unfolding yesterday morning. What more do we know about the images that have now been released? And do we know when and where in the city those photos specifically were taken?
Yeah, a very important question, Morgan. We do not know right now from NYPD where those photos were taken. We do see such a clearer image of the suspected shooter's face. He's even smiling in one of them with that mask down, and that could go a long way in helping to identify who this person is. We know police are looking at least exactly what law enforcement experts said they would be doing, trying to retrace the shooter's steps leading up to the encounter that he had with Thompson right outside this Hilton Hotel in Midtown. We are working to get more information from NYPD, who have not had an official press briefing today about these images and where they came from, but they clearly put them out because they are hoping that anyone with information will call them.
You know, Stephen, speaking of chilling, we've been talking about the words that were actually on the shell casings that were found. What were the words?
Yeah, deny, defend, and depose were those words found on those shell casings, those 3 shell casings that police found right outside. And they really are saying that that could be an indicator of motive, though it's not clear exactly what that motive is. And speaking with law enforcement expert Jim Kavanaugh about this, he's saying that that makes him think that this may not be a professional hit. So the NYPD stopped short yesterday of saying this was the work of a professional hitman. Some of the other things indicated as well from Jim Kavanaugh, the distance away that this shooter was when it happened, the words themselves being on the bullets, those aren't things that they typically see in a situation like that. It could help them find a way to trace and track down where this shooter may be. But we did hear from Mayor Eric Adams earlier today, and here's what he had to say about the likelihood of catching this person.
In all of my years of law enforcement, I have never seen a silencer before. And so that was really something that was shocking to us all. And so we're on the right path, and we believe we're going to apprehend this person.
Now, there are more questions that we have as well, Morgan, knowing about these threats that Paulette Thompson told us about yesterday, that, that they had heard from different places without a clear detail about what those threats are. We're waiting to hear more about that and why Thompson didn't have a security detail with him in light of those threats. Morgan?
Yeah, a lot more questions than answers at this point. Stephen Romo on the ground for us. Stephen, thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about.
Yeah, so he didn't have any security with him. And, you know, some people just don't want security around them. Knowing that they do need them, some people just don't want security around them. They want to do their own thing. And this might have been the time that he needed security, because he knew he was getting threats. He knew somebody wanted him dead. And they're going to go back and look at all of the threats and see what's going on. So they're going to connect some kind of dots. They're going to connect some kind of dots. And this is a situation that's global. The world is going to be paying attention. This is going to be talked about. The CEO of United Healthcare lost his life. Making a position. You got to understand, the CEO making a position, people didn't like it. Whatever happened to whoever, they felt that he was responsible. And they might have got denied for coverage, as in a surgery, something that was going wrong in their life, and they made a claim, and the healthcare said, we're not going to cover it. You got to think about this too, right? If this is somebody's life on the line and they know that they're going to die, and the company that they hired as health coverage is denying them service, we got to be honest. You don't know what people are going to do in that situation. The expectancy is just let it go and you just die. But some people are looking at it as, I'm not just going out like that. You're not going to just deny me coverage knowing I need it, and I'm just going to die when I die. And certain things in life that have to do with us living, it should be taken more serious. The human life isn't taken that serious from the people that are in position to make decisions for us. It's because it doesn't affect them at that time. When you allow people to make decisions that affect other humans that's not going to affect them, they're going to make it out of the way they think they feel at the time, not out of how they should make it because of the concern for human life. This goes on every day. And in this situation here, whoever got denied for whatever they got denied for felt that the CEO was solely responsible. And we already know a lot of CEOs that are in position, they are real cocky. They don't care. If it doesn't work for you, oh well, figure out another way. I'm going to continue doing what I've been doing. In this situation, somebody sat back and said, I have to do something to this person because it's affecting me. It's not right, but they thought about it that way. And this is what the looks of it is. From us seeing the bullet shells on the curb with writing on them, specifically saying the things that is said to you when the healthcare system denies you for certain things. The statement was made. Whoever was trying to make a statement, the statement was well made. But also, life is still going to go on. They're still going to continue to do how they've been doing. You might have affected this person's life, but they're still going to keep the same procedures the same way. The process is going to continue to be the same. Life is short. You never know who wants to do something to you when you're in position. When you're at the top of your position, you don't know who wants to do something to you. Deny, defend, and depose. This is what's said. Deny, defend, and depose. Let me see. Why do they say that? Let me look that up. Why? Deny, defend, depose. Why do they say that? Let me see. Why? Okay. I'm trying to see. Let me see. Hold up. Let me see. Why does why do they say deny? Yeah, let me see. Hold up. Deny, defend, and depose. Let's see. Why do they say that? Deny, defend, depose, meaning by CEO. Yeah, why do they say this? I'm trying to say. Let me see if I say when. Let's see if I can say when. When. Yeah, I can't see. I'm saying why they say that. So this must be the words that are said when you get denied health care. Yeah, that must be what they say. They say United Care kill. They gonna find out who it was though.
Down the CEO of United Healthcare. Brian Thompson was fatally shot on a sidewalk yesterday morning while on his way to an investor conference. Surveillance video captured the shooting, and authorities say the suspect fired multiple shots, and at one point the gun jammed, but the gunman was able to clear it quickly and kept shooting. Investigators say the killer got away on foot, then used an e-bike to make their way to Central Park. Both the Associated Press and the New York Post reporting that police are looking into possible messages left on the bullets at the scene, containing the words deny, depose, and defend.
I want to be clear. At this time, every indication is that this was a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack.
Definitely. Everybody can see that that was a pre-planned hit. And he definitely carried it out. He said he may want to be caught. What does it say? Hold on. Let's see what they say.
Morning. Thanks for having me.
All right. So lots to discuss with you. First of all, I want to begin by asking you about the timeline on this Manhattan or this manhunt, because we're now outside of 24 hours. At this point, does it make it more difficult to find a suspect?
Let me just say first, this is a multifaceted investigation. We call it having legs. And when you take type of investigation, this murder investigation, you're looking at the crime scene, the perpetrator, and you're looking at the background to find out a motive. The resources the NYPD has are extensive and massive. The investigators are experienced. This is something that may take a little time. I mean, he had time to get away. It was a 2-minute interval between the 911 call and the shooting, apparently. And by the time the police got there, he was already leaving the scene. So then you have a massive movement toward the scene. Description at one point was inaccurate. They got a better description. By then, he was already in the park on that e-bike. Right now, there are things that apparently he's maybe looking to have a message, to send a message. He may want to be caught because there's a possibility the cell phone left at the scene might be his. There was items he purchased at the Starbucks.
Yep.
And those are things that we're looking at. And I'll tell you, the detectives are researching the phone and getting those items for DNA analysis. So the identification is upcoming. Search warrants can be conducted, hopefully in the hostel he was at. So there's more information. Even though this crime looks like it can't be solved, there are clues and there's forensic evidence that will help lead to the apprehension.
Okay, I want to come back to the expertise of the gunman in just a second. But before that, let's talk about the words that were found written on shell casings at the site of the shooting. Deny, depose. What do you make of that? How much trouble would the shooter have to go to? And how... why would he do that? I mean, getting back to the point about leaving, clues behind and him possibly wanting to be found, what would be the message? What would be the motive for him to do that?
Well, when you're looking at this, he's sending a message. He is proficient in firearms. I don't know if he understood the fact that maybe that suppressor, that silencer might have caused a jamming of the firearm. But you can tell he is proficient in the fact that he fired a shot about almost a car length away with another possible person to the right of the victim as he's walking away from the perpetrator. That is one aspect of the case. You're looking at everything here. He's making a message. He's sending that message. And in that message, it looks like he wants to be the martyr in a sense, that he's angry. It might be an angry thing, writing that down. To scratch that in takes a little time. He was idealistic in the fact of how he did it. He left shell casings behind. He left rounds, unspent 9mm rounds on scene. So there's a message here to be made by this person. And is a lot of anger.
And a lot of anger. And let's go back just to round out this conversation then, because there's already been speculation. Everybody's talking about this story, fascinated with it on social media, that this person, perhaps as you point out, may want to be found, that on one hand, he was experienced with firearms, but on the other hand, he made some pretty dumb moves. I mean, leaving DNA potentially on a Starbucks cup, leaving behind a phone. What's your take then on the professionalism of this assassinator, David?
Again, I never like to speculate because you let the totality of circumstances, the facts of the case ring itself out. But there are mistakes made. There's no really, it's very difficult to have the perfect murder. And it's an outdoor exterior shooting. He delayed he was there prior to the victim leaving the one hotel and walking to the other. So within that time frame, he probably has thought about the shooting time and time again, and he's practiced that. But what he did before and what he did after is telling. And that's the thing, leaving the shell casings, going to Starbucks, knowing Starbucks has cameras. Every Starbucks has cameras. It's pretty much obvious. Purchasing items from there. These are clues, forensic evidence detectives will exploit, just as a surveillance camera. The backpack itself is pretty interesting in a sense. So I guarantee there was research done on the backpack. I guarantee you that, when he went to Central Park, there was a canvas of the park to locate this bag, because that bag might have contained clothing that he might have had, a change of clothing. So when he left the park, he didn't look the same. There are things that, this is a proficient shooter, but I don't think a professional killer in a sense.
David Sarney, he's a former NYPD detective. So glad that you could join us with your experience and expertise this morning. Air Canada facing backlash after announcing it will charge some customers for carry-on luggage.
Good morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m.
Yeah. So they got all hands on deck on this situation. And I guarantee you by the end of the day, they're going to know who this is. This is my opinion. And let me see. He said the mayor expects he will be caught. Yeah, the mayor expects the guy will be caught.
Then fled on foot, got on a bike, and went to Central Park, which is just a few blocks away. He remains at large. Joining us now, New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here this morning to provide an update on this shooting. Do we have any further? This reporting this morning, NYPD's confirmed overnight. The shell casings were found at the scene with these words written on them: deny, defund, depose. They are healthcare-related terms. They're similar to a book that was written about problems with the healthcare insurance industry that came out a few years ago. Is that seen as a possible motive here?
The pieces to the puzzle, they are still coming together, and no one does it better than the New York City Police Department. I was briefed this morning by the Chief of Detectives and Chief of Operation, Deputy Commissioner of Operation. We are on the right pathway, and we don't want to do anything that's going to not only impede the investigation, but hurt the prosecution of the person involved. But we feel that we're moving at a steady pace, and we're going to have someone apprehended.
There was an assessment yesterday by the chief of detectives, I believe, who said that this appeared to be a targeted shooting, pointing to even the equipment, the suppressor on the gun, and the way the gunman was laying in wait there. Is that still the belief?
We believe that it was definitely, based on our preliminary review, that it was not a random act of violence. We were concerned about that when it first came to light yesterday, but we don't believe this is a random act of violence. We believe that this was clearly a targeted shooting. And in all of my years of law enforcement, I have never seen a silencer before. And so that was really something that was shocking to us all. And so we're on the right path, and we believe we're going to apprehend this person.
And this comes at a moment, of course, it is the peak of the holiday season here in New York City. The Christmas tree outside right here at Rockefeller Center lit last night. But people who are living in New York or thinking of visiting New York for the holidays, you don't believe they have anything to worry about?
No, not at all. And crime is continuing to drop year over year. Our transit system is one of the lowest levels of crime in over 14 years. Removing almost 20 20,000 guns off our streets. We should all be proud of the men and women of the New York City Police Department on how we're able to have these major gatherings, from the Thanksgiving Day Parade to the tree lighting to the Israeli Day Parade, and we're able to do it with the level of safety. This is the safest big city in America.
So we obviously, if there are any updates, we will bring them to the viewers as soon as we get them. But we're hoping to hit a couple other topics with you while you're here, Mr. Mayor. You proposed yesterday a tax decrease for the working class. Axe the tax for the working class.
Yes.
The name you gave it. Tell us a little bit about it.
We always like to attach names to whatever initiatives we do. It's an important one. And not only have we heard through the national election, but we hear it every day. Everyday working class people in America are hurting, and it's becoming just unaffordable. And we need to find creative ways to put money back into the pockets of New Yorkers. We found ways to do almost $30 billion back into the pockets of New Yorkers. And this is the latest of our initiative. $63 million is going to be returned back to the pockets of over 582,000 New Yorkers. And it's for those who are making below the federal poverty level, 150% below the federal poverty level. What does that look like? A mother with a child making $31,000 a year, she's going to be eligible for this. And this goes directly back into the pockets of New Yorkers.
Do you feel like the results of this last election, where Donald Trump made some surprising gains here in New York City, showcase that people are simply upset with the working class voters in particular with the cost of living?
I've been saying this for years, working class people. And when you add this with our earned income tax credit, when you look at how we've decreased brought the MetroCard for low-income New Yorkers, reducing the cost of child care from $55 a week to less than $5 a week. You see how we understood from day one that we had to go after working class people, and we saw how frustrated they are. They don't see a future for themselves, and we have to make sure we address that.
So, Mr. Mayor, just last week, a judge ruled that your federal corruption trial will begin on April 21st, which would be during the midst of your potential re-election campaign. What do you say to, there have been voices, including some from city officials, who have asked you to resign, saying that you will not be able to effectively govern while this trial is going on? What's your answer to them?
Look at what we've done. Continue to bring down crime. We've just passed one of the most comprehensive housing reform in the history of this city. City of Yes is going to be voted on today in the city council. We have continued to move forward from continuing to make the city safe. Our job numbers are the most in our city history. What we're doing in education, we have to be able to move forward. I was elected to run the city. My attorneys will handle the case. I'm going to continue my commitment to do that.
And you still plan to stand for re-election?
Yes, I am. We are very clear. This city in 2 years and 11 months, what we have accomplished. No one thought we were going to do it. They stated it was going to take 5 years to turn around our economy. We did it in 2 years and 10 months, and we continue to be the safest big city in America. So I look forward to putting my successes up against any candidate that's running.
Let me ask you about crime. You look at the overall numbers, macro, the numbers do look like they're going down. But there are incidences, obviously, that disturb and concern New Yorkers. Obviously, a stabbing spree downtown that really shook the entire neighborhood. On the Upper West Side, crime is going up, random stabbings, random beatings, a lot of concern on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And also, let me just ask you, so there's the crime numbers that show crime is going down, and yet people go into CVS's, Walgreens, other stores, and toothpaste is still locked up. That doesn't feel very safe to them. What is the disconnect there?
Well, you know, when you have toothpaste locked up, when you have people placing security measures on their cars, those are a symbol of urban surrender. And not only must people be safe, I stated on January 1st, 2022, but they must feel safe. And that is the omnipresence of our law enforcement officers. 1,600 new cops are going to join. Our new police commissioner, Commissioner Tisch. We're going to see that omnipresent. When we saw that slight increase in crime on our subway system, we immediately saw the deployment of 1,000 new officers because people must feel safe. But let's not ignore the 3 areas that are really impacting us: random acts of violence, people with severe mental health illness, and repeated offenders. That is what we must zero in on. And when you look at the 3 innocent New Yorkers stabbed, severe mental health illness. When you look at those who are committing these repeated offenses, that is impacting us. The police, NYPD, is doing their job. Now we need lawmakers to join us to become a partner in those two areas.
So, Mr. Mayor, President-elect Trump has said that when he takes office in less than 2 months now, first order of business is going to be deportation of immigrants who are not here legally. And his appointed border czar has said that municipalities who don't cooperate, there'll be federal funding withheld. He's even threatened perhaps that local officials who say no to these plans, who stand in the way, might be subject to arrest. What is New York City, what is your stance as mayor of New York City going to do with this Trump deportation plan?
I am looking forward to sitting down speaking with the border czar next week. I believe we have a meeting on the 12th, and I want to hear the actual plan, how we're going to actually operationalize this plan. I have not been silent on my feeling for those who commit serious crimes in our city and those who are repeated offenders in our city, particularly violent crimes. We're not talking about those who steal an apple. We're talking about those who are shooting at police officers, raping individuals, and I would like to hear the border czar's plan on addressing that.
What would you say, though, to residents of your city who are, their only crime perhaps is to being here illegally, you have committed no violent offense, but who are living in fear that they may be taken from their homes, some of them longtime homes, because of this policy?
Well, we're very clear in the city. These cities have laws. I question the sanctuary city law that we have in place. I think we went too far by not cooperating with ICE when someone is a violent offender. But we're telling our residents here, if you have children, put them in school. If you need medical care, our medical facilities will do so. If you're a victim of a crime, you don't have to be afraid to go to the police. That is what we do in this city. This is a city of immigrants. This is a country of immigrants, and our immigrants have played a major role in this city, and we're going to continue to give them the support that they need.
People are scared, and you have an opportunity here to let them know that they will be protected. Some of these people, explain to us how you can do that.
We've done it already. National leaders came to the city and saw what we did with the migrants and asylum seekers, 220,000, $6.4 billion. We will allow them to get TPS, work authorization. We advocated, went to Washington 10 times. No one has done it better than New York City. Now it's time for the federal government to do what the American people ask for, secure our borders and come with comprehensive immigration reform. So cities like New York and Chicago and Los Angeles should not do the job of a national government.
One more question for you, Mr. Mayor. The president-elect at the Al Smith dinner a few weeks ago evoked you and said that and showed some common ground about how you both have been persecuted by the Department of Justice. You've been obviously very critical of the charges against you, to the point where some of your fellow Democrats in New York have wondered if you're cozying up to the president-elect, either for a pardon or for an administration job. Do you have a response to their comments?
Well, I think if you do an analysis of my life and what I've stood for as a police officer, as a state senator, and a borough president, you see the consistency. The public safety was a prerequisite to prosperity of the city and country, and I believe in working class people. I have not changed, no matter who the president may have been at the time. What I'm going through right now, no American should go through that. And not only did I state that we politicize our DOJ, but also the President Biden stated that, President Trump stated that. And when you have mothers placed on FBI watch lists for standing up for their children, something is wrong. And we have to be honest about it. We have to do a real analysis, and we must make sure that not in this country things like this happen.
All right, we have to leave it there. But New York City Mayor Eric Adams covering a lot of ground for us this morning. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Good to see you both.
Hey, he's right about that. He's definitely right about that, and I agree. Your family member, as your mother, shouldn't be placed on the FBI watch list because they want you. This is what the justice system does. These are the games that are definitely played. And we need a president in there that is going to address that. So hopefully that will get addressed. Hopefully. But yeah, they are on the trail of whoever committed this heinous crime. They're going to narrow it down. We know this. The person that probably did this better be out of the country if he planned on staying inside the U.S., they're going to track him down. This could be case breaking. Let's see what Fox News said.
May have left a message on evidence found at the scene where 50-year-old Brian Thompson was gunned down yesterday morning outside a New York City hotel. Police releasing this chilling surveillance video showing Thompson in the blue blazer as a masked man walks up behind him, raising his handgun. We paused the video right before several shots were fired at close range.
I want to be clear. At this time, every indication is that this was a premeditated, pre-planned, targeted attack.
After the assassination, the gunman escaped through an alleyway before hopping on an e-bike and disappearing into Central Park. Police are still searching for the man, releasing these images of the suspect taken at a Starbucks right before the shooting. And now we are learning some clues as to a possible motive found on evidence at the scene. According to the New York Post, quote, the NYPD is investigating the possible message, which appears to include the words deny, depose, and defend written on live rounds and shell casings left behind by the masked assassin. The United Healthcare CEO is or was in New York for an investors conference. He was a father and a husband from Minnesota. His wife telling Fox this, quote, Brian was an incredibly loving, generous, talented man who truly lived life to the fullest and touched so many lives. Most importantly, Brian was an incredibly loving father to our two sons and will be greatly missed. She also told NBC News that before the shooting, her husband had received threats related to his job leading America's largest private insurer. And the shooting also comes as Thompson and several other senior executives are reportedly under investigation by the DOJ for selling a combined $101.5 million in shares just 2 weeks before news of a federal antitrust probe went public back in February. Crime Stoppers is now offering a $10,000 reward for information on the gunman. And get this, the New York Post also reporting that the police obtained the suspect's Starbucks trash he threw away, Todd, so they may actually have his DNA.
Chanley Painter, so many unanswered questions. Yeah. We appreciate it. Let's bring in retired.
I want to play that little part back. I want to play this little part back right here about the people that he worked with selling shares of the company.
Comes as Thompson and several other senior executives are reportedly under investigation by the DOJ for selling a combined $101.5 million in shares just 2 weeks before news of a federal antitrust probe went public back in February. Crime Stoppers is now offering a $10,000 reward for information on the gunman. And get this, the New York Post also reporting that the police obtained the suspect's Starbucks trash he threw away, Todd, so they may actually have his DNA.
Chanley Painter, so many unanswered questions. Yeah. We appreciate it. Let's bring in retired New York detective Vincent Marr to try and answer some of them. As a retired detective, what evidence are you honing in on right now?
Well, right now they're doing a canvas of the entire area. They're doing a 5, 10, 20 canvas, which means a 5-block radius. They're going to pick every piece of forensics, every piece of video, every piece of audio evidence. Then they're going to expand that to 10-block radius, and they're going to expand that to 20. Anybody who's come in and out of that area, they're going to know who that person is. Facial recognition, they're going to go through trash cans, alleyways. They're not going to leave one stone unturned. This new DNA evidence possibly is going to be a serious case breaker, especially if the DNA is on record. They also recovered rounds. Rounds can be traced back to a particular weapon if a weapon is found. So they have a lot of good clues to start their investigation on and going forward. So it's a good start, but it's going to be a long road travel to solve this case.
In your experience, though, what's jumping out to you as, ooh, I want to find out more about this piece of evidence, that piece of evidence, as sort of the linchpin that could bring everything together and ultimately find the shooter?
Well, we believe, the public believes, and based on the video, that possibly a silencer was used on the weapon. Now, that's a huge piece of evidence, because silencers are not something you just go in any gun store and purchase. You have to file for a federal tax stamp to own that silencer. You have to get an ATF background check to purchase that silencer. That's if it was purchased legally. Now, again, they're going to go through all the records. They're going through all the records of that right now at the ATF, I'm sure. But unfortunately, there's also, thanks to YouTube, people can create their own silencers, their own makeshift homemade silencers. And that's the case. And it's not illegal silencers. It's going to be hard to trace.
From the moment we heard about this crime, everybody wants to know why. Why did this happen? So how do police, in a situation like this, begin to whittle down the possible motives? We have these bullet shells reportedly with words written on them or engraved in them. We have an investigation by the feds into this CEO who was shot. We also have an industry, insurance, that creates a lot of enemies. I mean, everybody watching this has probably had a problem with their insurance company at one time or another. Rarely, if ever, has it led to somebody trying to kill an executive at said insurance company. And again, we're not saying that's what happened here, but it certainly has led to speculation. So how do you begin to whittle down the possible motives in an effort to find this shooter?
Well, being that the attack looked seemingly so precise and so particular towards an individual, it obviously looked like it was planned. You're going to go through your MSRs as far as motives. That MSRs, your money, sex, revenge. That's going to be the three. That's going to be the biggest routes they're going to go first. Unfortunately, a lot of these crimes like this, that's exactly what they're connected to. I'm not saying it is, but I know the detectives are really pounding the pavement and going down those avenues, as well as every other branch of the evidence tree to try to find out what was the motive of this.
Are you confident they will catch this shooter? And based upon the evidence, when? When do you think they'll catch him?
Well, we can't put a timeline on that, but I know that the New York City Police Department detectives are, as they say, and are they known, are the best detectives in the world. I worked with some of these homicide guys when I was on the job, and the homicide guys are the best of the world. If anybody's going to find out and get to the root of this evil, it's going to be them.
It appears as if there is a trail. Now, your former colleagues have to connect the dots to find out who did this and why. Vincent, appreciate your time and your insight on this case that is shocking the nation right now.
Yes. It's crazy. It's definitely deep. And it's an APB out on somebody and they don't even know who it is. It's an APB out on somebody and they don't even know who it is. Sheesh. And you know what I want to say? You never know when your time is coming, man. You just never know, man. You can wake up one day feeling good, happy about life, have some things planned out, and that could be your last day on earth. You just don't know. You can push hard to build so much, and just one day, you're gone. We don't pay attention to that. And that is the honest truth. We as people don't pay attention how easy it is for your life to end. And it's always surprising. This man was walking in a direction. This man was walking in a direction, not paying attention to anything behind him, on his way to a business meeting with investors. Woke up this morning, life probably happy, living good, in position. And he walks down the street and gets shot in the back and dies. All the hard work he's done, all the time he's put into his business, everything in his entire life that he's dedicated himself to achieve something didn't mean anything at that point. This is what we do not recognize living everyday life. Fortunately, he has the entire world behind him trying to find out who killed him. But there's many instances where somebody that was somebody to somebody woke up that morning, might have been happy about life, and went outside and got killed. You never know when your time is coming. You don't expect to have a day planned full of events and someone to come kill you. Being saying that, you have to be happy within yourself. No matter what you're going through, you have to try to find a sense of happiness between yourself, because everything that you push for and you work for has no value at this point in your life. That's deep. Everything that he's worked for, the healthcare, everything that he has put together that he was so proud of means nothing at this point. Can't take it with you. Can't enjoy it by yourself. It means nothing. And we really need to be mindful of that. But I appreciate everybody that watches the channel. I appreciate everybody that subscribed to the channel. And I want you guys to leave a comment and let me know how y'all feel about this situation. Do you guys feel that they'll catch the person that did this? Or do you feel that this person is out the country, already gone? Was this a well-calculated hit? I want you guys to give me your opinion on this. Let me know how you feel about this situation. And what do you think the outcome is going to be? My opinion, I think they're going to find out who did it. And when they do, the person's probably going to take their own life. Because we all see that this was a paid hit. Whoever did this was paid to do this. They carried out the hit, but I'm sure they don't want to spend the remainder of their life in a jail. I'm sure of that. So, whoever it is has to hide at this moment. And when things like this happen, they really don't get any satisfaction. Because whoever did this is not going to be satisfied trying to hide and live under a rock for whatever remaining time they have on earth. But you know, it's your boy DZ. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think about this situation. Let me know, are they on the trail of this person? Or did this person just pull off something that nobody could have done in the middle of New York City? In the middle of New York City, this person, whoever it is, plotted, planned, and executed a major hit that left a stamp in New York. New York is in an uproar. They got all cops on detail. And even when they do the tree lighting tonight, they said they're going to have plain clothes and uniform officers everywhere. And it's deep that this happened the day before the tree lighting, and they're still going to go ahead and have it. But they do have the police on it, and, you know, this is being talked about and monitored, and, you know, they're updating the world every couple minutes about what's going on. And for them to have a picture of the person, they doing some homework. And to know where the person might have stayed at, they're doing some homework. They really have an idea of where the person stayed at. I want you guys to let me know what y'all think about this situation, man. And go check out the merch, sbgbtv.com, and hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate everybody that watches the channel. You guys are the best. It's not about the setback. It's about the get back. Nah.